Hey YouTube, Shelka04 here. Welcome to another segment of How So-and-so Ruined So-and-so. Today's topic is how Eisenhower ruined basically the American transportation system. Now let's review for a minute. Dwight D. Eisenhower was a cadet at West Point in the early 20th century. At that time, during one's, if you want to call it a summer tour or a summer trip or whatever, a bunch of cadets went from the East Coast to the West Coast. The problem was there were no main highways at that time, so they're taking back roads and little gravel roads and country roads and all sorts of random ways to get from here to there. The whole process took, I think, 3 months. So Eisenhower made a mental note that if he ever got in a position where he could do anything about it, he was going to do something about it. And so what happened was, when Eisenhower was finally elected in the 50s, he set out to basically start building our superhighway system. That in itself would have been fine. But what wound up happening was, in an effort to sort of gravitate more towards the superhighways, what we allowed to happen was that we wound up tearing up our rail beds. So it's not even just that the rail system was lying dormant. It's that they went back and started pulling the tracks up and pulling the ties up and basically abandoning the rail system. And so what had happened was we gravitated from a mix of primarily shipping freight by rail to now we're shipping freight primarily by truck. The healthy alternative would be if they had found a mix somewhere in the middle. Some rail, some truck. If we had done that, we'd have a better rail system than we do today. We'd be able to have high-speed rail the way they do in Europe. There'd be all sorts of different opportunities for travel other than what we have now. The other problem, the way I see it, is that if you abandon the rail system and gravitate more towards the superhighways and trucking and stuff like that, you allow the automotive industry to become essentially too powerful. And so they wound up driving the idea that, you know, we need to get away from rail. Rail's bad. Rail's too expensive, and everybody needs to have their own car and be out in the open road. Would we be better off if we had more rail? Obviously. We'd have more shipping options. We'd be able to send stuff to other locations that aren't in close proximity to the superhighways. And let's back up for one moment. When you had this network of rail system out there, all also connected by small feeder roads, if you want to call it that, then you had communities thriving where the communities needed to be, meaning farm communities out in the fields, port communities, all being serviced by rail system and small feeder roads. When you put in these major superhighways that basically just go north to south or east to west, what's happened is you wind up bypassing a lot of those smaller communities, and they wind up drying up and withering away and blowing away in the wind. And so you have a situation where the populace now has gravitated from rural living to urban and inner city living. And so it's made it basically, you get on the superhighway and drive from Philadelphia to Chicago, and all the population between basically got screwed, because there's no incentive to get off the superhighway. There's no, you know, you're going 70, you're just cruising past it. You're not stopping off in any small town and spending money in that economy. So did Eisenhower screw up the country? I think so. He screwed it up by pulling up the rails and screwed it up by bypassing small downtown America. Again, this is Shelka04 out. Leave comments, questions, and I look forward to hearing from you. Talk to you.